This week on Carlie's Couch, we're discussing the scarcity mindset and how it shows up in our life outside of finances.
Mm.
I
I'm
knew
gonna
it.
say I don't know this.
I thought it was going to be, Because you know what it is? I think it's the way my inflection is that makes me like, oh, maybe it's just
It
how I
is.
said it.
That's what I said. You make it sound interesting. You turn on your whole commercial voice, and it's like, ooh, okay. You should be doing
I don't know.
intros for shows.
My throat's a little raspy a little bit, so we'll see how it goes today. But um, you see, I'm here, Lex, and we have Carlie here. Carlie, say what's up.
What's good, everybody? Hello.
I'm about to say, just in case, look, we might be doing the one screen at a time talking right now. You
Oh
see?
yeah, you're right. You right. Hey y'all, Carlie here. Carlie Carpios, CC Fierce on Instagram.
So, how are you doing? We see that you're in a Pueblo back there.
Man, I'm actually in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I'm very excited. I am hosting my first yoga retreat that I've hosted. I've taught at them nationally, which is super cool, but I've never hosted one from top to bottom. And so I'm very excited to be here with my friend Anna. And yeah, so it's a very peaceful. New Mexico is a vortex, which is like similar to a chakra in your body, or a chakra in your body is like an energy center. And so it attracts a lot of healers and a lot of healing, and it's supposed to be very peaceful. It's also elevation wise different than LA. And so I noticed I was walking and out of breath, but it's all good. I'm excited.
Yeah, you got to practice. You got to get your breath right before you start
Man,
teaching.
look, that's why I got a whole day tomorrow to get into, the space to really sink into everything and like get ready to create like a healing space for other people. Like I feel so blessed to be able to do this and get paid to create brave spaces for people to heal. Like it feels so crazy to me.
Yeah, that is cool. And then everybody is coming in from somewhere outside of Santa Fe, right?
Hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So a fresh experience for everybody.
Yeah, I actually think none of the ladies that are coming have ever been to New Mexico. So I haven't either. So it's gonna
Mm.
be a new adventure for everybody.
Okay, look, shout out adventure. That's always a good time. Um, and I like how in your life right now, with all the things you're doing, you're practicing our topic today, essentially, which is not having this scarcity mindset, being able to go and do things in a space that you love and that feeds you as well. Because a lot of people are scared to go to New Mexico, or they're scared to like try to put something together like that. So kudos to you. I would you say that you have always been like, whatever you want to do, you're going to do it, and felt like these things were possible, or is it new for you?
What's interesting is I think it's a yes and I'm not cheating on this answer because I've always done whatever I wanted to, but there are certain things I don't think I knew were possible because of a scarcity mindset that I didn't know that I had. And that's from like growing up not having a lot, and then like other experiences in life, like parental issues and things like that. Like you don't really know how it translates into your life, and that's kind of what inspired like my topic for this episode, because I think I'm trying to remember. I don't remember exactly what the catalyst was, but I started thinking like it's so sneaky. Like because I've always been a person who have done whatever I wanted. I didn't think that I had scarcity in any area but finances. But then when I look at relationships or other places in my life where I might have stayed too long, or didn't leave, or did just different things, I'm like, oh, that was because I was scared. There was a scarcity mindset.
Scarcity mindset, when I hear that, I think about if somebody has a scarcity mindset, they're afraid there's not enough, or that they might run out, or that whether that's time or space or love or whatever. Um, is there more to it than that, or would you agree with that?
I think yes. So it's a pattern of thinking where people don't think there are enough resources, or the resources are limited, or things are not accessible to them. I think it's sneaky how it permeates into life, but that really is the base of all of it. Whether it's enough love, like you said, time, finances, enough people, enough opportunities. Um, if people think things are accessible, so like a lack of or inaccessibility is kind of how, like, I would say the two major roots of it are.
Yeah. And I feel like it's easier to understand when we talk about money and finances. And that's where people talk about like scarcity mindset a lot, which is why,
Mhm.
I like how we're going to talk about how what it looks like in these other spaces in our life.
So I actually saw you retweet some or like quote tweet somebody the other day, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta act like you move like you ain't got no money." You're like, "I actually move like money comes real easily to me. Like I be spending it."
It's
And
crazy. Yeah, like I literally went from went from nothing the other day, and this morning I woke up and was like, oh, ACH. I was like, all right, like it is, and now I'm gonna go get my escargot tonight and like keep it moving. Like I don't know, I'm just making it work, but I'm also not. You know how also people can be like super, like down bad or whatever if things aren't exactly where they want them to be, and maybe I'm just so used to like I don't know, the ups and downs. Like everybody's built kind of different. And of course it's based on your life, but I just am not supremely stressed. I've had some really stressful times, but in general, I feel like I can figure things out.
yeah, and I think that's like I said, it's a dichotomy, it's a double-edged thing because I've always been like, "Oh, I'm always gonna figure it out regardless." Like, even when stuff is hard, I'm not down too long because I know I always make something shake. I always figure it out. I always push through. I'm always gonna come out on top. Ever since I've been little, that's been a mindset. Like, I'm never a product directly of my circumstances, but you don't recognize, like I said, how that kind of permeates into other areas. Like, I never felt like I was limited in career. I can do anything I want. I never felt like I was limited in opportunities or meeting people, but I realized like I probably thought that love wasn't as accessible to me just because of like, my father wasn't in my life growing up, and I had issues with my mom and stuff, and so I didn't realize in relationships sometimes I feel like I stay too long because love, I didn't know, was a limited resource in my head. I didn't think that I could study abroad because when I was an undergrad, which is crazy, because I was like, oh, I don't know if that's too much money or this, and I have to work. And so maybe that is more of a product of the finance scarcity mindset. But then when I started traveling at USC, I did like 10 new countries in 2 years, and now there's no limits. But I had to like see it and kind of move through a thing to even recognize that that was a real block.
Yeah, that's important too, though, what you said about seeing things, because I think for me, like I grew up in North Carolina, and not to say that they don't see anything, but this is also before like super social media and all the things, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
I think it's exposure that can actually like it's more lack of exposure as opposed to scarcity sometimes, because I'm like I'm not even thinking about certain things. I wouldn't even think about having a content marketing agency. Like what is that? Or doing anything in certain industries or things of that nature. And one thing that I always do all the time now, that ever since a kid I always did, was travel. Like because my mother was from another country and we always were traveling, always on a plane. And so to me, certain things, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, like let's just look up whatever it is and let's go, or have an explorer mindset to discover new places and all of that. And in some places, I think it's what a reflection of what I didn't see. Like I didn't have a rich family, or I didn't see certain things that that other people might have did or thought about. And so all of those things I think are products and good thing, products of me leaving spaces, going to new spaces, meeting new people, and being like, oh, you could charge this much, you can do this with your life. And so I think that perhaps scarcity could keep somebody, in their town, or keep them from trying certain things. But yeah, to your point, I think it is a reflection of, what you saw, didn't see, and then not realizing that
Mm-hmm.
shapes how you kind of view those different areas of your life. So one of the things I'm kind of hearing from you is just this idea of a scarcity mindset. It can keep you feeling stuck. Like you can, it's like you're settling. And to me, if I feel like I'm settling, it's like, I can't leave this job because I need it. Whereas anytime I hear somebody say something like that, I'm always like, what do you want to do? Like, I will help you find like,
Oh,
and
well,
but I get it, right? Like, I'm not saying quit right now and just be like, I'm gonna make it happen. And also it's like your boat will never, you can't go anywhere until you let go of like where you're coming from. So like, I know that's one of the things for sure is like scarcity mindset will have people sitting in spaces, even though they don't like them.
yeah, in spaces that you've outgrown, like being stuck at home. Like I have a friend who wants to move from Oklahoma to LA or to anywhere else, and I'm like, yo, what's good? Like we've been talking about it. What's up? And he always tells me like, I'm so proud of you. It's such a big deal. And for me, like living in LA is just something that I do. I don't think of it as that, but I do recognize that them seeing people, do things just like me seeing people do things shows me what's possible. And so the exposure and knowing that somebody that did it like always makes it easier. But like staying in places, like I think that's a sign that you might be suffering from a scarcity mindset or letting it kind of guide places in your life if you're staying in places longer than you need to be. If it's a relationship, if it's a friendship, if it's a job, if it's a car that's so raggedy and you just this and you have the means to get a new one, or even like an apartment, like it's good enough, but you're not like where you want to be.
Even if in some of those spaces, the things you just said, even if I'm like, I want something different, I'm not settling. Like, it's not like I don't want that. Like, I might be looking at cars, or I want to get one, but like people, I think there are like people who are like, this is good. Like, they don't even try really, or like the way their mindset is just like, I'm okay with what I have. And it's like, that's, excuse me.
Bless you.
That's fine. And yeah, I think so that kind of can be an indicator like, okay, do I have scarcity mindset, or, am I just not in a position to do certain things? But yeah, I think sometimes also we can tell ourselves that we should have a scarcity mindset. I don't know if this is going to make sense. Let me talk it out.
Okay.
But, sometimes we can tell ourselves like, well, I should be good here, or like how we talked about recently in an episode about, kind of glorifying like kind of struggle or certain things. And it's like, well, I should be okay here. I should be okay without, I don't have to move somewhere else or whatever. And it's like, why don't we acknowledge and accept like the things that are really calling for us sometimes? It makes me think of like in The Alchemist, where it's like, like if you never like listen to your heart to even try to do a thing, like none of these things, would happen, and you would still be in the same place your treasure is, but like you won't see or experience those things. And so I think sometimes we kind of like, you're kind of holding yourself there, and maybe there's other fears in place, but
Yeah, and I think when we do that, like one of my favorite quotes that is like, I want to live like the breadth, the width, the depth of life. And like also like I like for me, I want to die empty. Like I want to have tried all my talents and put all my energy out there and tried to build all these things. And I think the part of not going after those things is scarcity mindset, like a big piece, like thinking things are inaccessible, thinking if you fail, but also when people pass away, the biggest thing that people say is like, don't regret not having done something. Like, at least if you fail or you miss out on something, you have a story. But like, if you never try, like, don't go through life never trying. And I think not taking risks is a big piece of scarcity mindset.
yeah. Another space that we can have scarcity mindset, which I don't think is incredibly obvious, but if you are like stressing yourself out by trying to do too much, or like work all day, or like overschedule yourself, or like, okay, let me do these 20 meetings today. That's actually kind of scarcity mindset in my mind, because it's like, if I don't do this, anytime you're like, if I don't do this, I won't get something else. You feel like you have to be on every opportunity. And I have to take this call. And I have to make this money, or I have to, make things work. And while it's like, that's cool, like hustling and all that. And I mean, hopefully you are making money. The weird part is that when you're living like that and you don't have any time to chill, like it's just stressful. Like for me, I feel so abundant when I'm like, it doesn't matter if I still have some stuff to do, but I feel so abundant that I can take a break. Like those, I'll be like, oh, like I can sit down, I can read, I can do what I feel like I want to do. Like I don't feel like I have to say yes to everything. I don't feel like I have to, overwork myself, because there, what does work and what comes my way and what I'm doing now, like it will work. And I guess maybe that's the opposite of scarcity. Obviously, it's like abundance mindset, but just to know that like I'm okay, so I don't have to try to overdo it.
And I think it's that pressure. I think that's that scarcity, is that pressure. Like, I don't have enough, so I always have to keep fighting for something and keep working. Like, things have to be hard. And I also think that that ties into like scarcity, if you feel like you are not taking advantage of every opportunity, networking every single night, doing these things, then you don't think more opportunities are going to come. Like you're not allowing yourself to be in the present because there's a limit of opportunities. And if I miss it, I'm gonna miss it. And that's it. And that's the scarcity side.
That
There's
is,
more. There's always more.
yeah, that's it. That was a better way to tie that to the scarcity, because it's almost like you're scared to miss out, or what is that, like a FOMO, I guess, and when it comes to work too, but like you're scared to miss out on an opportunity. And it's so funny because sometimes we could be like that. And then meanwhile, it's like we could be in the grocery store in line, and like if we were just nice and talk to people in front of us, they might be the person something pops off on. Like it happens all the time, just being, where you are and speaking, or being ready, right, for the opportunities as they come up. Again, I would definitely say that don't mean like don't try to work or don't, sit around.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to sit back and realize like what things are actually good for pushing what you're doing forward and what things are just kind of whatever. I was actually talking to a client the other day about how it's like, man, when I lived in DC, like I used to go to all these like networking meetings, and I forgot what they're called. I'm gonna say BMI or something, but like these groups where you pay to be in the group and everyone refers each other. And I was like, I never bought into those because it was like, guys, I can see any of y'all in networking like refer you somebody anytime. Like, why would I need to pay to be in a group to say I'm gonna, send people to you? Which is why I also really like that giver's gain mentality, which maybe that's kind of abundance mindset too. But I have so much. I like the more I can just give, and like it's okay. Like all that will do is like build up my network and build up my expertise and credibility with people, help people who then, are in my network to help me back if I needed anything. So like you don't have to be worried about missing an opportunity. You don't have to be worried about like running out of information either. I think that's another thing with scarcity.
And I also think like scarcity and lack of way that people don't think about it typically is how opportunities can come. It's very close, like it has to come through traditional means. It has to be this. When in reality, an abundance mindset takes into account that if you're showing up genuinely for yourself, like the things will meet you wherever you are, as long as you're showing up. And so, like you said, I drop something in line, somebody picks it up. That could be my biggest client. There was no way I could have networked my way into that meeting. But if I allow myself to be open to all the possibilities, then more come.
Yeah. I think where we focus on working hard is on the knowledge that we need to do what we say we can do for work. Like, so to understand your industry, or to, practice the things that you're talking about, to understand them, to understand how you can help people. I think that's really where most of the work comes in play, because outside of that, it's just being ready and talking to people, and being able to have the skill of like, I guess closing, but all of that comes with like actually being good at what you do. And I think sometimes we put too much focus on, talking, selling. And it's like, it just isn't, it isn't as fruitful. It's a little bit more stressful.
Yep. I think one more way when we think about like a shortage of opportunities or goodness or love that shows up in people's life is if you notice yourself being jealous or resentful towards people. If you notice a feeling like, why not me? Because then you're assuming that that's all that there is that one opportunity. And so you have to be upset or feel down or feel bad about yourself. Like, why didn't they pick me? Whenever there's maybe other opportunities that are coming your way if you're showing up for yourself. And so noticing like in what areas that could be showing up in your life.
Yeah. And a big place that shows up is through social media, especially when you see people and the people, and you like, they on this panel, that panel, that. Like, all right, I know your real life, which is still fine. You can always be on a panel. I'm not dissing the panels. And yet, y'all heard me say this a million times. It's like, I really wish like everybody would be a little bit more real when it comes to, putting your certain accomplishments or things we consider accomplishments on display. Because they really be them people who have no followers, who's like a little consulting, whatever, don't care about social, that's like getting contracts,
Getting bread, baby.
real. Like, why? I don't. That's not where my people are. But yeah, but seeing social media, if you scroll and it's like, dang, they did this, they're doing that. you know, that is a good point that you're comparing and focusing on what other people are doing and you don't know the whole story, but B, um it's so much better to be excited for them or to view things through a lens that, wow, so that could happen for me, or that means I can do that. Let me figure out how. Um, and so if you catch yourself at least, because it is, I think that's pretty, I don't want to say it's normal to like think that, but like, yeah, it's like when we're seeing so much stuff and especially if we're going through it or we're trying to get another client or whatever you may be doing,
Mm-hmm.
it can be discouraging to be like, okay, it seems like everybody is winning. And how about actually hitting somebody up and talking to them about it or asking them about things or, like reframing your mindset because there's 100%, the opportunities out there for you as well. And Carlie, there's so much money. Like there's just so much of things that like anytime I kind of catch myself being like, hey man, like why, because it does feel like hard. Like
Uh-huh.
you can't just be like a zillionaire. Like, and it's like there's so much money out there. So, who knows how your path can get to it. And what I do know is that you will not get to it thinking scarcely. Like you just won't. And so, it's always reminding yourself how much is out there and always reminding yourself like that there is plenty. And I think even just that reminder kind of keeps you from at least being kind of down about those types of things.
Yeah, because your frequency can't even match if you're focused on the lack or the resentment or being down, which sucks because we all have downtime. So I'm not saying don't have those, but just try to reframe and look at all the possibilities. Because then you're not even open like for the money. Money doesn't want to come to you if you can't have fun with it. Like that's a big thing in finances that people talk about it. But if we think about that with time, if you're not able to enjoy the present moment because you're always like, I got to do this and got to do this and all over, then your time is going to go really fast and it's not going to feel good. But if you're having, enjoying a slow morning, if you're enjoying the things that bring you joy, if you're very intentional and very present, it also feels like you have an abundance of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it does. That's what I love the most. And then like I start to understand more when people are like, that's when you feel successful. I'm like, I guess it's hard to say like I feel successful because I'm like technically it don't, but also like technically and literally every day it does. So it's like
Hmm.
I can be okay saying that and like it does feel good. Like I'm doing pretty good. What are some other spaces like in our life are examples of ways that that's actually scarcity mindset.
I thought about one that I found was interesting and then I read more about it when I was researching, but hoarding. And so if you notice that you
Oh,
have a bunch of clothes and it's really hoarding,
courting.
hoard, hoarding, H O
Oh,
A R
hoard.
D I N G,
I'm
hoarding.
sorry.
So if you're hoarding things, like if you have so many clothes or knickknack and it's really hard for you to let go of stuff, it could be because maybe you didn't have any of that stuff growing up. And so it's really hard for you to let go. And you don't even notice that that's why it's hard for you to let go of things. But then you messing up your current moment because you got all this clutter, you got stuff you don't need, you got stuff you ain't been able to fit in 3 years, you got just stuff that's crazy. And so looking at that, um, hoarding, noticing if you are collecting a lot of food or a lot of things that you also don't need or won't eat,
Ooh,
um maybe even gluttony, like
I love my aunt is like this. I love when you go to somebody's house and you open the pantry, it's like,
oh,
dang,
oh.
y'all got crafty stuff. And I just didn't grow up like that. And now, like most of us, like we just go to the store when I need something. But I was like, wow, you got food for days. Like, but to me that felt cool. She also has grandkids. So I feel like it's like sometimes older people like have a bunch of stuff. Um, but that's definitely a good point. And that makes me think about Marie, what's her name? Kondo or Kodo? Who talks about like cleaning out your closet and all of your things.
Joy.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And I think that what's so funny is that once you start taking stuff out, so I started doing this a few years ago where every once in a while I'll just go through and be like, man, I haven't worn this. Like, even if I like it, it's like if I haven't worn it in a year, what's the point of me having it? And like the more you pull stuff out, the easier it gets to be like, yeah, this too, this too, this too, this too, this too. And it's just like kind of freeing, I guess, because
Yes.
it solidifies or it exemplifies like I don't need this. It exemplifies that you even with your couple things you have enough. I was talking to my other aunt the other day too, and we were talking about how she was like, yeah, like we just um when we would get our clothes, she was talking about this British department store. Said the clothes were such high quality. Like, you know, you make sure you have a couple jeans, couple shirts, like only a couple things, and it's like you're kind of straight. Like you didn't really have to have a whole closet of stuff. Like everything was just light. But also I recognize too, going back to social media, you know, when you take a picture of something, you don't wear it no more. Or, you know, everybody's looking, like there's a million eyes on you all the time. And so for a lot of different reasons, things are different. And it's just something so freeing about like being minimal in a way.
Mm-hmm. And knowing that like you'll always have enough regardless, I think that's the base where it ties into abundance. It's like I can get rid of things. I think another sneaky way is even like if people have a thing with overeating or eating past the time that you're full, like I think that's enough because I've had times where we couldn't get groceries or we didn't have food and like man, my high school sweetheart, he worked at a grocery store and he brought over groceries for us a few times because we didn't have anything. You know, he was sweet then, but like, you know, whatever. He's cool. But things that are so seem so small like that, like eating more than you need consistently, like that could be tied to a scarcity mindset.
And a further example of that same thing, which I stopped doing recently, well, for the most part, because I was like, why am I doing this? Is feeling like you have to finish all of your stuff. Which
Mm-hmm.
let's first acknowledge we get way too in most places. So like, and you know when you do go to the bougie place and it's like the little whatever, and you be
You
like,
like,
dang, and also you be like, yeah, you really don't need like the daggone 30-ounce steak and then the fries, this much fries, and like Five Guys, what are y'all doing? Like, I don't even want that many fries. Like, it's so ridiculous. And when we go out, like feeling like I don't want to waste this. Or even simpler, Carlie, is when you have a drink and it's like you're kind of done, but you know how you sit there and you're like, all right, let me finish my drink. And actually,
mm-hmm.
I'm cool. Like, just put it down. It's okay if you don't finish it. You can
I was about to
leave.
say, you know what's funny is I've never connected that with drinks, but I always have to finish a drink.
Yeah, because it feels like, damn, I don't want to waste the alcohol, or and alcohol is like $20 drinks or whatever. But like,
Bro,
I start doing that though, where it's like, you know what, I'm done. Like, just leave it there. It's cool.
okay. And I just thought
I'm
of
not
another thing.
done.
Another one related to like clothes or nice things that you have. If you notice that maybe you're saving this dress and you've had it for years, always for a nice occasion. Like I, I think that we can allow ourselves to romanticize smaller moments or to wear the really nice thing more casually in our lives. And also, I think that's loosely tied to scarcity, but that just came to my head too. If you have a nice things that you're not allowing yourself to, yeah, saving it for what? Now is the moment.
Yeah, that's for a lot of things too. I've started doing that a little more recently too. Where it's like, well, shoot, if I want to put something cute on, like put something cute on. Um, but then sometimes you do need to save certain things. Like, nah, this ain't enough for tonight.
There's only there's one more that I thought about and then one more that I researched. So the last one that I personally was thinking about is a lot of stress that we put on ourselves due to the scarcity mindset is an all or nothing mentality. Like you can't allow yourself to fail or mess up, or you feel like you have to show up and perfectionism, imposter syndrome, different things all tied to scarcity. Because if I mess up this moment, then I'll never get another one. If I mess up this relationship and ask for what I want, then what if they leave? So it's always like it's this or nothing. Like you don't allow yourself any leeway in the things that are happening day to day for you. And so putting too much pressure on ourselves because we feel like we don't want to mess up a thing because we might not get another one.
So in that case, is scarcity mindset not trying? Is that what you're saying? Like you're not trying because you're scared that you
Well,
won't kind of.
I guess it could be either or. It could be not trying, or it could be trying too hard so you don't mess up and you put so much pressure on yourself, and then you're inevitably going to fail because nobody's perfect. So, but then you're always in this state of like, I have to be perfect. I have to show up. I have to do this. That like whenever we're in that state, anyways, we are more likely to fuck up or to not do well or to not be our best self. And so, if you're pitching for things and you notice you under pressure, like learn to say, even if, like whatever happens with this one will be okay. There will always be another one. If this relationship, like I'm gonna speak up from and say that, that hurt my feelings or ask for what I want. I'm not scared if you leave because I'm advocating for myself. And I know that if you're not the person who respects what I need and what I want, somebody else will.
Yeah. Sometimes the scarcity shows up by like you trying to do too much, but sometimes it shows up by you don't try and like you withhold, like
Mm-hmm.
care about them, or you withhold trying to show them because of whatever, like the fear of rejection, or like, oh man, they might not like me or love me, or this might be the only place I can be. And anything that keeps you from expressing how you really feel, or expressing your emotions in general is just never a good thing. I've definitely dealt with that a lot, where it's like I didn't even realize it was like I was withholding, but in my mind, it just seems like that's how you are. But in my mind,
Mm-hmm.
like for some reason I just didn't I didn't want to show them. I only made it like a space where they could show me and they could do all these things. But also it's like then everybody's in the same boat of like who's gonna jump in first type thing, and then nobody really shows up. So like I had to learn, like actually I do want to show up more, and I realize when I show up differently, then it creates a different atmosphere when it comes to like relationships or dating and those things.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's super important. And like I said, that's something I researched because I feel like I was on the doing too much side, whereas you were on the other end of the spectrum. And I think it's important to notice those areas where we might be holding back our full selves because of we're scared of whatever. It could be scared of like scarcity mindset, scared of them leaving, whatever it is. But any space that you notice you feel like you can't show up as your full self, I think is a great place to reflect and spend some time healing. But
Mhm.
I would love to hear from y'all this week where you experience scarcity mindset. Did any of this speak to you? Are there some areas that we might have missed? Are there some ways it shows up for you or maybe someone in your life that we could also add to our list? Hit us at Carlie's Couch on all the platforms.
See ya.